My name is Lily, and I used to think my hair was my best feature. It was long, down to my waist, a kind of mousy brown, but it shone in the sun. I loved braiding it, trying new styles. It made me feel pretty, I guess. School wasn't always easy. I was quiet, kept to myself mostly. There was this group of girls, Sarah, Jess, and Chloe. They were the popular ones, loud and always together, and for some reason they decided I was their target. It started small, whispers when I walked by, giggles if I answered a question wrong in class. Then it got worse, knocking my books out of my hands, mean notes left in my locker. I tried to ignore it, to just shrink further into myself, hoping they'd get bored, but they didn't. The day it happened, I remember the smell of the cheap, strong perfume Sarah always wore. I was in the girls' bathroom, just washing my hands before lunch. They came in, all three of them, blocking the door. My heart started to hammer against my ribs like a trapped bird. "Look who it is," Sarah sneered, holding up a small tube. "Little Miss Perfect Hair." I didn't say anything, just tried to edge past them. Jess grabbed my arm. Chloe stood by the door, a smug look on her face. "We thought your hair needed a little extra hold," Sarah said, and then she lunged. I tried to pull away, but Jess held me tight. I felt something cold and sticky being squeezed onto my head, right near the roots. The chemical smell hit me, sharp and awful. I screamed, a choked, terrified sound. They were laughing, a cruel, high-pitched sound that echoed off the tiled walls. Then, as quickly as they'd come, they were gone, leaving me there with a growing patch of hard, unyielding glue matting my hair to my scalp. Tears streamed down my face. I could feel it hardening, pulling at my skin. It was a nightmare. I stumbled out of the bathroom trying to hide my head and ran to the nurse's office. The nurse, Mrs. Gable, was kind, but her face fell when she saw the mess. She tried to gently pick at it, but it was no use. "Oh, honey," she said, her voice full of pity. "I think we need to call your mom." Mom arrived, her face a mixture of fury and worry. She took one look, and her eyes welled up, but she blinked it back. She held me tight. That afternoon was a blur of failed attempts to dissolve. The glue, oil, special removers, nothing worked. The glue had set like cement. Finally, late that evening, sitting on a stool in our kitchen with a towel around my shoulders, Mom took a deep breath. "There's only one way, sweetie," she said, her voice gentle but firm. She held up a pair of scissors. Snip. Snip, snip. Each cut felt like a piece of me was being taken away. Large chunks of my beautiful long hair, matted with sticky, hard glue, fell onto the towel. When she was done, I had huge, uneven bald patches. What was left was short and ragged. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. I just sobbed, deep, wrenching sobs that shook my whole body. Mom held me again, rocking me like I was a little kid. The next few days were awful. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want anyone to see me. I wore hats, hoodies, anything to cover my ruined head. The shame was a heavy cloak I couldn't take off. The whispers followed me, louder now, mixed with pointing. Sarah and her friends would look at me and smirk, triumphant. I felt broken. I cried every night. Mom tried to be strong for me, but I saw the pain in her eyes too. She reported it to the school, of course. The girls got a suspension, a slap on the wrist, really. It didn't feel like justice. It felt like they'd won. Then, something shifted inside me. It started as a tiny spark of anger, a hot, burning feeling that pushed back against the sadness and shame. Why should I hide? Why should I let them win? They had tried to destroy something I loved, to make me feel ugly and small, but I was still me, underneath the chopped hair and the hurt. One evening, staring at my reflection, at the uneven tufts of hair, an idea started to form. It was scary, but it also felt right. The school had an annual Arts and Expression Night. It was a few weeks away. I decided I was going to participate. I wasn't a great painter or singer, but I could speak, and I had a story to tell. I spent hours writing, pouring all my pain, my anger, and that new, fragile hope onto paper. I practiced, in front of my mom, my voice shaking at first, then growing stronger. I decided not to wear a hat for my presentation. I wanted them to see me. All of me. The night came. The school hall was packed. My hands were clammy, and my stomach was doing flips. I saw Sarah, Jess, and Chloe in the audience, whispering and looking smug. For a moment, I wanted to run. But then I thought about what they did, and a wave of determination washed over me. Mom squeezed my hand backstage. "You can do this, Lily," she whispered. My name was called. I walked onto the stage, my short, patchy hair on full display under the bright lights. A hush fell over the room. I could feel hundreds of eyes on me. I took a deep breath and began. "My name is Lily," I started, my voice a little shaky, "and a few weeks ago, something really ugly happened to me." I told them everything. I didn't name names, but everyone knew who I was talking about. I described the fear, the pain, the humiliation of the glue, the heartbreak of losing my hair. I talked about the shame I felt, the desire to hide. My voice cracked a few times, and I saw some people in the audience dabbing their eyes. I saw my mom, tears streaming down her face, but smiling proudly. Then, my voice grew stronger. "But then I realized something," I said, looking directly at where Sarah and her friends were sitting. Their smirks had vanished. They looked uncomfortable, fidgeting in their seats. They tried to make me feel ugly. They tried to take away something I loved. But they can't take away who I am. My hair will grow back. But the ugliness they showed, that's harder to fix. I paused, letting my words sink in. Bullying isn't just a joke. It leaves real scars, sometimes ones you can't see, but it doesn't have to define you. What happened to me was meant to break me, but instead, it made me find a strength I didn't know I had. I finished by saying, "They wanted to make me invisible with their cruelty, but tonight I stand here, visible, and I'm not ashamed." When I stopped speaking, there was a moment of complete silence. Then, someone started clapping, and then another, and another, until the whole hall erupted in applause. It was deafening. People were standing up. I saw teachers smiling, students nodding. Even some of the kids I barely knew were cheering. Sarah, Jess, and Chloe looked horrified. They were the ones shrinking now, the ones who looked small. Afterward, so many people came up to me. Students shared their own stories of being bullied. Teachers commended my courage. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. Things changed after that. The school took bullying more seriously. Sarah and her friends became outcasts. No one wanted to be associated with their brand of cruelty anymore. They tried to apologize to me once, a mumbled, insincere effort, but I just looked at them and walked away. I didn't need their apology. My hair started to grow back, slowly, in soft tufts. It was short for a long time, a pixie cut that, surprisingly, I started to like. It felt new, like me. I wasn't the quiet, shrinking Lily anymore. I had found my voice. I even helped start a peer support group for students dealing with bullying. What those girls did was horrible, a truly dark moment in my life. But in a strange way, they gave me a gift. They tried to silence me, to make me ugly, but instead, they pushed me to become louder, stronger, and to see a beauty in myself that had nothing to do with the length of my hair. I had turned the tables, not by seeking revenge, but by refusing to be a victim, by speaking my truth and by showing them, and everyone else, what real strength looks like.